Welcome to this predicted paper from On Maths. This paper represents the best guess for the upcoming exams. Please use this paper in addition to your other revision. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our On Maths site. On Maths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing. Enjoy! So the only way of answering this question is to work out what these are as ordinary numbers. And so 7 times 10 to the power of 7 would be 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And 9 times 10 to the power of 4 would be 90,000. So that would be 9, 0, 0, 0, 0. And so we're just subtracting them like that. And so we'll get 6, 9, 9, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0. And obviously if this is on the calculator paper, just type it into your calculator. There are no tricks here. You can't do anything with the 7 and the 9. You're not subtracting powers or anything. You're just literally typing in what it says. And there's a button on the calculator like that you will need to use. So if you don't know what that is, ask your teacher or ask someone to help you out with that. So to find the area of a rectangle, we do length times the width. So here, to find the area, we will do the 10 times the whole of the 10t plus 4. And to show that we're doing the whole of it, we put it in brackets. So a different way of writing that is 10 brackets 10t plus 4. And whichever method you use to expand brackets, feel free to do it here. I'm going to just do the grid method, but whatever method you prefer. Actually, I don't need the. I've done too many here. Let's get rid of that. So we've got 10 times 10t plus 4. So and we're timesing them. So 10 times 10t. 10 times 10 is 100. So it'd be 100t. 10 times 4 is 40. So our answer will be 100t plus 40. So let's look through this question to see what information we're given and what information we're looking for. So we're given the acceleration is 13 meters per second squared. We're also given the distance is 19. And we're also given the end velocity, which is v, is 34. And we're looking for the initial velocity. So which of these formulae include A, S, V, and U? That's got a T in it, that's got a T in it, so it's going to be this one here. So let's write that out. V squared equals U squared plus 2AS. So that would be 34 squared equals U squared, because that's what the one we're looking for, plus 2 times 13 times 19. Okay, so let's just work these parts out. And so we've got 2 times 13 times 19, which is what, 494. And it turns into a solving part, so we're just going to solve this. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract 494 from both sides. And so we're left with 662 equals u squared. Then we're just going to square root both sides. And so square root of that is going to be 25.729 blah blah blah. And it says it wants it to 2 decimal places, so it's going to be 25.73. So when you read this question, the question's basically asking you to find the bearing of O from B. So the lifeboat is at B, so I'm going to draw a north line here. And to find a bearing, you start from the north line and you keep going clockwise. So we're going to look for this angle here. Now, this angle, which is given to us in the question, and this angle here, which I'm just going to call X, are going to be equal. So X is going to equal 135 degrees. And the reason for that is we've basically got, and I'm just going to draw or extend the north line down. because we've basically got we have a set of parallel lines here, and we have a set of z angles which we know is alternate angles. So the reason for that is it's alternate angles. And always show the reasons to the examiner. Okay, and so to find out what the bearing is, so the bearing of O from B, it's just going to be 360 take away 135, and the reason for that is angles on a point. We've run out of space. Okay, so we're going to do 360 take away 135, which is 225, and so our answer is 225. So the first thing we need to do is work out the mean for the data in the table. So to start off doing that, we're going to work out the midpoint of each group. So we've got 80 to 85, and to find the midpoint you add the 80 and the 85 together, then you divide by 2. So this will be 82.5, then 87.5, then 92.5, then 97.5, and then finally 100 plus 105 divided by 2 is 102.5. Next we need to find the FT, which is just the frequency times the duration of calls. Now in this first group we're not timesing it by 80 to 85 or anything like that, we're timesing it by the midpoint, so our midpoint effectively becomes the T. So we're going to do 15 times that, which will be 1237.5, and we're just going to keep going and multiplying each of these together. And then finally 2050. Right, next we need to add up the frequencies and add up the FTs. So we're going to have the sum of the frequencies. So I'm just adding all this column up, and that will be 80. And we have sum of the FT. And so we're going to just add this column up here. And so that would be 7,450. So what this column represents is all the numbers added up together. This column represents how many numbers we have. So to find the mean, it's all of the numbers added together, which will be 7,450, over the amount of numbers we have, which is 80. So when you do that, we get 93.125. Now this question is about the improvement that we've made, or that the manager has made, the call centre's made. So we're looking at subtracting the 93.125 away from the last week, which was 105. So we're looking for improvement. And we're going to do 105 take away the 93.125, and that's going to be 11.875. Now it does ask for 2 decimal places, so that will be 11.88. First thing I'm going to do is just draw the square out, and we know the length of it is 10x plus 10, but it is a square, so that's the same all the way around it. But we're also told that the perimeter is 440, so the perimeter is 440. So what we can do is we can work out the perimeter in algebra by multiplying 10x plus 10 by 4, or just adding up the 4 lengths that we've got. So we're going to do 4 times 10x plus 10. But we also know that that is going to be 440, because we're told in the question that the perimeter is 440. So put our lines in, because we're going to solve, and we're just going to start by expanding the brackets. So that'll be 40x plus 40 equals 440. Then we're going to get rid of the plus 40 first, so take away 40 both sides. And so that would be 40x equals 400. And then we get rid of the 40 before the x, so we divide both sides by 40. And we've got x equals 10. So our answer is 10. We're going to start this question by writing down what we know. So the toy car is travelling at 17 meters per second initially. So the initial velocity or initial speed is 17 meters per second. It accelerates for 4 meters per second squared. So acceleration is going to be 4 meters per second squared. And it's for 12 meters. Now, displacement just means distance as a vector. So we're going to use displacement. And we use the S to show displacement, just to be confusing. So displacement is always the confusing one. And we're asked to find the final velocity. Now the final velocity is shown with a V. So that's what we're looking for. So we're going to find out which of the formula we're going to use. Now notice we're not given the time, so all the formulas with t in them are not going to be useful. So we're not looking for or are given the t. And it's going to be the last formula, the v squared equals u squared plus 2as. Okay, let's fill in what we know. Well, we're looking for v squared. Well, we're looking for v, so we'll leave that. And so it's going to be 17 squared plus 2 times 4 times 12. And then when you work that out on a calculator, that comes to 385. And we're going to do some quick solving here. And we're going to square root both sides to get rid of that squared. So we get v equals the square root of 385, which is 19.621, etc. And it wants it to 2 decimal places, so we're going to write down 19.62 meters per second. So in this question we are told that the centre of enlargement is at 6, 4. So let's just put across there. And what I'm going to do is just draw ray lines from the centre of enlargement, and we're just going to go through each of the corners of our shape A. And we're going to just check whether it goes through the corner of shape B, which it does on this one. Let's just keep going. Yeah, it does on this one. But it does not on this one. So it says find the coordinate of the vertex of shape B that is not correct. So the coordinate is this one here. And so that would be -4, 1. On a scatter graph, an outlier is a point which doesn't fit the pattern. And as we can see here, all of these coordinates fit kind of a nice line going down there. So they all are showing a trend. But we've got this point here that's nowhere near that trend at all. And that's what we call an outlier. So we know that these are going up in 2s, so this will be 28. So the x coordinate will be 28, and this will be 19. So our coordinate will be 28, 19 for our outlier. The formula y equals mx plus c includes this m, and the m means the gradient. So if we're looking for something that is parallel to y equals 9x plus 18, we're looking at this number here. And for it to be parallel, it needs to have the same gradient. So we could just write y equals 9x plus or subtract anything. Or we could just write y equals 9x. I'm going to say plus 5. To find average speed, we do the total distance and we divide it by the total time. Now in this question we've got a bit of an issue because the question wants kilometers per hour, but the units are given to us in meters and minutes. So we just need to do some basic conversions. So 1080 meters is going to be 1.08 kilometers, because there are 1,000 meters in a kilometer, so all we need to do is just divide the meters by 1,000. Minutes are a little bit trickier. To get from minutes to hours, all we need to do is divide by 60. And so when you divide that by 60, you get 0.2 hours. So we're going to put the kilometers at the top, 1.08, and we're going to divide that by the hours, which is 0.2. When you do that, you get 5.4. So our answer to 2 decimal places will be 5.40. Whenever you have a one-digit number or a 1 decimal place number, but you're asked to round it to 2 decimal places, you should really put a 0 on the end, which is what we've done. The formula for an exterior angle for a regular polygon is 360 divided by the amount of sides. Now here we're given the fact that the exterior angle is 30 and we're looking for n, so we just need to rearrange the equation. We can times both sides by n. And then divide both sides by 30. And so we've got n equals 360 divided by 30. And when you do 360 divided by 30, we get the answer of 12. So it's a 12-sided shape. When proving two triangles are congruent, and congruent means exactly the same, we're going to have one of 4 answers. Either side angle side is the same, angle angle side, or angle side angle. Side 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 are the same, or they have the same right angle, hypotenuse, and side. This question doesn't have a right angle, so we can cross that out. It has 2 lengths, so 2 sides, but not 3, so we can cross that one out. It only has 1 angle, so we can cross this one out. So we're looking to see whether it has the same side, then angle, then side. So here we've got 13 as a side, then 139 as an angle, then 6 as a side. 13 as a side, 139 as an angle, and then 6 as a side. So they have the side, angle, side. The important thing to realise in this question is that we know a female has been selected. So we can just basically get rid of all of this part of the frequency tree because it's not relevant, because we know a female has been selected. So there's 29 females altogether, and we're looking for the probability that the female chosen at random picked action. So it's just simply 16 over 29. The formula for the circumference of a circle is circumference equals pi times the diameter. In this question, we're given the fact that the circumference is 37.7, and we're asked to find the diameter. So if we put our lines in, all we need to do is divide both sides by pi. So we've got 37.7 divided by pi equals the diameter. And so that is, when you round, well, it's 12.00 blah blah blah. Round to the nearest integer, that would be 12 centimeters. And we can try it by typing in 12 times pi, and we get what would round to 37.7. To find the median, we need to have all the numbers in a list from smallest to biggest and find the middle num. Now, we can't do that when we're using a table like this, or it's not very practical to. So we need a kind of different strategy, and the way we do it is to use a simple formula to find the position of the median. Now the median will always be in the n plus 1 divided by 2 position. So we need to find out what n is, and we do that by adding up all the frequencies there. So let's add those together and you get the sum of f. So those add up to 15. So if you do 3 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1 plus 5, you get 15. And so we've got 15 plus 1 divided by 2. 15 plus 1 is 16, divided by 2 is 8. So the position of the median is in the 8th position. Now to easily find out which group, because it's asking for the class interval, which is just a fancy way of saying a group, so it could be this one or it could be this one. To easily find out which group the median is in, what we do is a quick running total. So what I'm going to do is add up the frequencies as I go along. So we've got 3 there, 3 plus 4 is 7, plus 2 is 9, plus 1 is 10, plus 5 is 15. And then what I do is just convert those into 3rd, 7th, 9th, 10th, and 15th. So what those numbers are the last time that a number is in that group. So we've got 3 numbers that are in the group 10 to 25, and the third one is the last number in that group. The fourth one, therefore, will be in the 25 to 40 group. So we're looking for the 8th one. Well, the 7th one is the last one in this group. So the 8th one will be in this group here, as well as the 9th. Then the 10th one will be in the next group. So when it asks for a class interval, all we need to do is copy down exactly what the group is. So it's 40 to 55. And don't ever write down 40 to 55 or anything like that. Always copy it exactly from the table. There's a lot going on with this question, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in all of the time signs that we don't normally show. So we've got 10 times 12x times y to the power 4 times 13 times x to the power 4 times y to the power 4. And I'm going to reorder these to put the numbers together, first of all. And with multiplying, it doesn't matter which way around you do it. So I'm not changing anything. I'm going to put the x's together. And I'm going to put the y's together. So, first thing to do is 9 times 13, which is just 117. Then we've got x to the power of 12 times x to the power of 4. Now we know when we multiply 2 powers of the same base, and the base is x on both of those, we just add the powers. So it's 12 plus 4, which is 16. So it'll be x to the power of 16. And then y to the power of 4 times y to the power of 4, we just add them together, so it's y to the power of 8. First thing we need to do is work out the volume of this prism, and it's a trapezium-based prism. So the volume will be the area of the cross-section, or area of the trapezium, times the length, how 3D the prism is. So trapezium is half a plus b h, and then times the length. Now A and B are the 2 parallel sides, which will be this one and this one. And then the H is the perpendicular line that hits both of them at 90 degrees, which is what perpendicular means, between the bases. So this will be the 25 meters here. So it's going to be half, and then we're going to add 1 and 5, times that by 25. The length is how 3D it is, so it would be that 10 there. So we're going to times that by 10, and that will give us 750. So it's 750 meters cubed. Now, there is a little formula we can make for the rate. So the rate of anything for this will be the volume gained over time. Now, with this question though, we're interested in the time it will take. It says how long will it take. So we're actually looking at the time. So it will be time equals the volume, which is 750, over the rate, which is 15. So 750 divided by 15 is 50. So it will take 50, and let's have a look. It says per minute. So it would be 50 minutes. So the angle of elevation is when you are looking horizontally, like here. It's the angle that you have to look up to see something, so that castle. So this is the angle of elevation here, which I'm just going to call x. And we've got a right angle triangle here where we have 2 lengths and we're looking for an angle, so we're going to be using trigonometry. So we're just going to label this up. So we've got the opposite here, adjacent to here. We don't need the hypotenuse at all, so get rid of that. Let's just put our SOHCAHTOA in. So we've crossed out the hypotenuse, so it won't be sine or cos, it will be tan. So it will be tan x is equal to the opposite, which is 49 over 98. Get our lines in. And we're going to do the inverse tan of both sides. And so the inverse tan of 49 over 98 is 26.565, etc. And it says it wanted the nearest whole number, so that will be 27 degrees. There are a few different ways you could answer this question. I'm going to do it with a tree diagram, but you didn't need to draw a tree diagram to answer this question. So we've got our first tree, which is our first bus. And the choices are male and female. And we've got our second kind of branch, I suppose. And it's still male and female. And this is our second bus. So the property of male on a first bus is 9 over 15. And therefore the property of female is 1 minus 9 over 15, which would be 6 over 15. Male on the second bus is 7 over 15. And so female would be 8 over 15, because they need to add up to 1. And it's independent, so these will be the same. And the question is basically asking what is the probability that both will be female. So to have both female, we need to have gone down this line at the start and then this line again. Okay, so looking at the fractions along the way, it's 6 over 15 and 8 over 15. The word and in probability means times. So whenever you're finding the probability of getting to an outcome, so this outcome will be FF, because they're both female, you are multiplying the fractions that you go across. So it would be 6 over 15 times 8 over 15. So 6 times 8 is 48. And times the bottoms, 15 times 15 is 225. Now you can actually cancel that down. So what you can do is you can divide top and bottom by 4. And that will give you 16. Is it 4? No. You can times top and bottom by 3. And that would be 16 over 75. So either 48 over 225 or 16 over 75. When it's said that y is inversely proportional to x, it means that y changes as 1 over x changes. And to write this in an equation, all we do is we just write y equals k over x. Now k is something we need to find. So what we need to do is find out what a value of y and a value of x are somewhere on the graph that would be formed from this, and we've got that in this question. So we know that when y is 7, then x is going to be 7.9. And what I need to do now is just draw my lines down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just times both sides by 7.9. And so we have k equals, and it'd be 7 times 7.9, which is 55.3. So we know that k is 55.3. So I'm just going to rewrite this equation here, or this formula here. But instead of k, I know that it's going to be 55.3. So our answer is y equals 55.3 over x. To find the perimeter of this sector, we've got to first of all find out the length of the arc, which will be this part here. And the formula for arc length is, first of all, we find out the fraction of the circle we have. So we put the angle over 360, and that will tell us the fraction of the circle that the sector is. and then all we do is we times that by the circumference, which is pi d. And so that's going to be 49 over 360 times pi times, and the diameter would be twice the radius. The radius is 7, so it would be times 14. When we do all of that, we get 5.986, blah, blah, blah. But that is not the perimeter yet. Perimeter needs to include, get the right ones, needs to include these parts here. So the perimeter will be the 5.986 plus a radius plus another radius. And when we do that, we get 19.986, blah, blah, blah. And we want to round it to 2 decimal places, so that would be 19.99 centimetres. So the first thing I notice is the second equation isn't really in the normal format for doing simultaneous equations. So I'm just going to rearrange it so that we have it where we want it to be. And I'm just going to put my lines in so I can rearrange. So the first thing I want is I want the x's and y's on the same side. In fact, actually all I need to do is take away 4y from both sides, and we get 5x minus 4y equals minus 7. Okay, so what we do now is we put both our equations down so we can solve these simultaneously. So 5x minus 4y equals minus 7. And you notice the coefficient of the y is already the same, so we don't need to multiply anything. But the signs are different, and the d in different is the d in add. So we're going to add going downwards. So we're going to add everything. So we're doing 3x plus 5x, which is 8x. 4y plus minus 4y is nothing, which is good, because we want to get rid of that. And 47 take away 7 is 40. All right. Let's put our solving lines in, and we're going to divide by 8 both sides. So we get x equals 5, and we're going to substitute that value into one of the equations. I'm going to pick this top one. So instead of 3x, we're doing 3 times 5 plus 4y equals 47. Get my solving lines in. So that will be 15 plus 4y equals 47, and then we're going to take away the 15 both sides, and so it's 4y equals 47 take away 15, which is 32. Divide by 4 both sides, and we get y equals 8. Now we can check that using this equation here. So 5 times 5 is 25, take away 4 times 8, which is 32, is minus 7. So we know we've got it right. With these questions, it's normally easier to view these as 2 separate triangles. So we've got a small triangle here with 19 and 47. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this out. And we've got a bigger triangle here. And we've got, we've got a bit of, we don't really know what any of the sides are just yet, but we can work them out. Okay, now we know that both of these triangles are similar, and the reason is they share an angle and the lengths at the bottom are parallel, so they will be similar, which means one's an enlargement of the other. And we are given some information in the question that the ratio of BC to DE is 1 to 6. So BC is this length here, and DE is this length here. So we're actually given the scale factor because we know that 1 times 6 is 6. So we know the scale factor is 6, and it's asking us to find length AD. And so the corresponding length to AD, which is this one here. So all we need to do is get that 47, times it by the scale factor, so times it by 6 to get to our value. So it's 282. First thing we need to do is find out what 10% of the 109 is. So we're just going to multiply by 0.1, and that gives us 10.9. So what we're going to do is we're going to add and subtract this from 109. So we're going to do 109 take away 10.9, which gives us 98.1. And then we're going to do 109 plus 10.9, which will give us 119.9. So our error interval is between 98.1, and it says to use t, and 119.9. So I'm going to write this equation again just a little bit bigger so we can work with it. And one of the rules with equations is you want to get rid of brackets and fractions first. So we've got a big fraction here, and basically a fraction just means divide. So we're doing the 82 and we're dividing it by 3x plus 5. Notice I've put a bracket around it, because what we're going to do is we're going to do the opposite of divide by that bracket. We're going to times both sides by 3x plus 5 to get rid of that fraction. Now on the left hand side, that just gets rid of the fraction, so we're just left with 82. On the right hand side, well, we're doing the 2 times the 3x plus 5. Following my rules to get rid of all the brackets first. So 2 times 3x is 6x, 2 times 5 is 10. And you can use any method you want. Some of you might use this method, where we've got the 2 here, 3x plus the 5, and then we times them, so it's 6x plus 10. That's how we can do it. Any method you like. And then we're going to take away the 10 both sides, because we want x on its own. And so we've got 72 equals 6x. And then we're going to divide both sides by 6. And so we've got 12 equals x, or x equals 12. So here we have two angles coming from the same 2 points. We've got this angle here, which is 42, and we've got this angle here. And not only are they coming from the same 2 points, but we could say that they're coming from the same chord. And whenever you have this situation, the two angles will be equal, so x will equal 42 degrees. And the reason we state is that they are angles from the same chord. So we're going to first of all find out how many potatoes were below 22 grams. So we're going to draw a line up at 22 and a line across, and that is 13. So there are 13 potatoes below 22 grams. And so to work out the probability of picking one below 22 grams, it's the amount that we have below that amount, or below that weight, over the total amount of potatoes, which will be 20. So it'd be 13 over 20, which is equal to 65 over 100. So that would be 65%. If we draw out this rectangle, we can go through the distances one by one and find out what they have to be to maximize the perimeter of the rectangle. Now, perimeter is obviously the distance around the rectangle. So we're going to start off with the 24 centimeters. So the maximum that could be, well, the biggest it could be before it rounds to 25 is 24.5. And so these are both going to be 24.5. 98 centimeters, well, the maximum that could be is 98.5. And so to find the perimeter, all we're going to do is add all these together. So 98.5 plus 24.5 plus 98.5 plus 24.5. And that gives us the answer of 246 centimetres. We're asked to solve this quadratic, and we're told that we're going to leave the answers to 2 decimal places, so chances are we're using the quadratic formula. So for the quadratic formula, we're going to use a, b and c. We'll go find a, b and c. A is the coefficient of the x squared. Now, we don't actually have a number before the x squared. Well, we kind of do. There is a 1 there, we just don't bother showing it. So a is 1. B is the coefficient of the x, which would be minus 15. And c is the number left over at the end. We're going to write down the quadratic formula, but instead of a, b and c, we're going to feed in the values that we've got. So it's minus b. Always put them into brackets. Plus minus square root of b squared. So I always put a, b and c into brackets, because here if you don't have the brackets it will square the 15 then put a negative before it. It won't be correct. And I just put brackets for each of the numbers. So 4 times 1 times 6, because if you put brackets around all of them you'll never ever have that problem. And then 2 times 1. Put that into our calculator with a plus there, and you will get the answer of 14.588 blah blah blah. Go back on your calculator and change that to a minus. Most calculators have cursor keys. You can go back and delete it and change it, and you get 0.411 blah blah blah. So to 2 decimal places, our solutions are 14.59 and 0.41. So the first thing to notice with this question is we've got an isosceles triangle between O, B and A, because these are both radii. And so what we can do is we can find this length here, or this angle here, by doing 180, take away the 40, which equals 140 degrees. And because it's an isosceles, we do 140 divided by 2, which is 70 degrees. So we know this is going to be 70 degrees here. And whenever you write down working out like this, so the first one would be 180 take away 40, you need to write down y, so you put in brackets angles in a triangle. And then the second one you would put in brackets isosceles triangle. That's why that's 70, that's why we halve the 140. Okay, so the big thing here is that we can now work out what this angle is. This angle is the 10 degrees plus the 70 degrees, which is 80 degrees. And we use a circle theorem here called the alternate segment theorem. And what the alternate segment theorem states is if you've got a tangent and you have a triangle coming off it, which we do here, then the angles here and here will be equal, and also the angles here and here will be equal. It's basically the angle between the triangle and the tangent and the opposite side of the triangle. An alternate segment theorem is quite hard to spot sometimes, so we know that x is going to be 80 because it's going to be equal to the angle at CBA, and what we must write down is alternate segment theorem. You must have those 3 words written down, and it's crucial that you write them down in that order, and you don't call it an alternate segment or a segment theorem. It has to be those 3 words, and in all mark schemes it will have those 3 words written down. And normally there's a mark for a non-circle theorem proof, so angles in a triangle or angles in an isosceles, or both of them for this question, and then a mark for the circle theorem itself. So make sure you write down all the reasons. So we're going to start off with the middle here, and then we're going to make our way to the right, and then we'll make our way to the left. So we're going to start off with 11 to the power of 0, and that's going to just be 1. Anything to the power of 0 is 1. Then we're going to do 11 to the power of 1, which is just 11. Anything to the power of 1 is itself, and then 11 squared is 121. Now this next one here, 11 to the power of minus 1, whenever you have a negative power, you just put 1 over 11 to the power 1, or 11. Same with 11 to the power minus 2, 1 over 11 to the power of 2. 11 squared is 121. So that would be 1 over 11 and 1 over 121. Okay, so this is not going to be too easy to plot because it's so difficult to get them low down, and we'll change the colour just to make it a bit easier to see. These are essentially going to be at the bottom. This goes up to 11, so that you can see that a little bit more, and then we've got 121, which will be there. Okay, so whenever you draw the curve, it does help you sometimes to turn your page sideways. I can't do that, unfortunately, but I will try my best. And you want just one smooth, continuous line. And I've kind of dipped a little bit at the end there, which I didn't mean to do, but any of these graphs will give you full marks. You need to make sure that it's one continuous line, that it goes through all of the points, and that you don't do any feathering like that. It's just one smooth line joining them up. So we're going to start off just by copying down the same equation. And we're asked to make B the subject. So we're going to put our solving lines in. So the first thing we need to do is get rid of this 10 here. So we're going to divide both sides by 10. And that will mean we have a fraction here, a over 10. And we've got the square root b over 3. Now we need to get rid of that square root. So what I'm going to do now is square both sides. Now to square a fraction, we square the top of the fraction and we square the bottom of the fraction. 10 squared is 100. And that will equal b over 3. And we want to get rid of this next, so we want to times both sides by 3. To get rid of a divide by 3, we times both sides by 3. Now with a fraction, when you times it by something, you actually just times the numerator, the top, by that. So it's going to be 3a squared over 100 equals b. So b is 3a squared over 100. We're going to start by working out what outcomes will give us two different types of drink. So we could have OA or AO. We could have AW or WA. And we could have OW or WO. Now what we notice really when we do this is that OA gives us the same probability as AO. Same with AW and WA, same with OW and WO. So we're going to just ignore the right hand side ones, and we're just going to focus on the left hand side ones. To work out the probability of O and then A, so orange juice then apple juice, we work out the fact that it's 6 over, well, the probability of picking orange juice first of all is 6 over 27. And then if we picked an orange juice, the probability of picking an apple juice would be 9 over 26. And so that would be 54 over 702. Apple juice then water would be 9 over 27. And then 12 over 26. And so that would be 108 over 702, and then orange juice then water will be 6 over 27 and 12 over 26, and that would be 72 over 702. Now we're looking at the probability of this or this or this, and the word or means add. So the probability of OA or, I should put that in brackets, probability of OA or AW or OW is these added together, and when you add them together you get 234 over 702. Now I said we would deal with the reverse situations now. I'm going to deal with that now. And as I said, OA is going to be equal to AO, AW is equal to WA, and OW is equal to WO. So all we need to do to find the probability that the drinks are different is get the 234 over 702 and just double it. And we can do that by just doubling the numerator. So 468 over 702. That cancels down to 2/3. So there is a 2/3 chance that the drinks will be different. So we're told that y is inversely proportional to the cube root of x. And to get rid of this proportionality sign here, we just convert it to an equals and times the right hand side by k, which represents a constant. And we now need to figure out what that constant is. So we're going to feed in the value of y and x that's given to us in the question. So we've got 10 equals k over the cube root of 343. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to solve that. So put our lines in. Now the cube root of 343 is 7. So we can actually just, it's a lot easier. And we're just going to times both sides by 7. So k equals 70. And we're just going to rewrite this. But instead of k, we're just going to write 70. So y equals 70 over the cube root of x. We're going to start by creating a table of frequencies from this histogram. And so we are going to need our times, first of all, then our frequencies, and then we can add a midpoint and an fx column as well, which we'll need for later. So our times, then our frequencies, then our midpoints, then we'll do the fx later on. Right, so the first group is 0 to 10. And to find the frequency, well, I might as well just show this. So the frequency density is proportional to the frequency over class width. The class width here is 10, and the frequency density is 1.2, so 10 times 1.2 will be 12. And then the next group is up to 30, so we're doing 20 times 3.2, which will be 64. And then the final one will be 30 to 50. So again, we're doing 20 times 0.8, which will be 16. Okay, so we've got our table from the histogram, and we're asked to find the mean. So hence us doing the midpoint, etc. So the midpoint is 5, 20, and 40. And then the fx, we just times these together, and that would be 60, 1280, and 640. Now, something I said earlier is that the frequency density is proportional to the frequency divided by class width. It does tell us there are 92 people, and if you do the sum of the frequencies, you do get 92. So we know that it's a one-to-one relationship. Okay, so let's do the sum of the fx by adding up these numbers here, and you get 1980. So to find the mean, we do the sum of fx over the frequency, sum of the frequencies, and that will give us 21.521, blah blah blah, and 2 decimal places, which is what the question asks for. It's 21.52. Whenever you're asked to work out a proportion of items in a histogram, you can actually do it by just counting the squares. So in the first bar, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there are 12 squares here. The next one, you've got kind of 4 half squares, so that will be 2 squares in total. And then we've got 4 squares in the last one. So altogether we have, for the amount of squares, we have 12 plus 2 plus 4, which will be 18. So it's 18 squares in total. Now it says that we're looking for between 25, which will be here, and 45, which will be here. So we count the squares in this little interval. So there are 3 here, and there's half a 1 here. So the squares between 25 and 45, I should say dash 45, 25 to 45 is 3.5. Okay, so we've got 3.5 in total, or 3.5, out of a possible 18. So we just need to do 3.5 divided by 18 to work out the proportion, and that gives us 0.194 blah blah blah. It says it wants its 2 decimal places, that would be 0.19. To answer this question, we're going to do something a bit weird on the calculator, and this is a method you might not know, but it's the quickest method for answering this question. And what iteration basically is it's feeding the previous solution into the iterative formula to get the next solution, and you keep going, and it will get closer and closer to an answer, and then we write down that answer. But on our calculator, what we're going to do is just press the button 1 and then equals. Now what that will do is it will store the 1 that we have here in our calculator. Then we're going to type in the cube root button, and the 1 will disappear. That's not a problem, because the next thing we're going to press is answer plus 10. So on your calculator it should look like this: the cube root, and then answer plus 10. When we press the equals button, what will happen is it will work out what the next number is in our iteration. So if we press equals, we get 2.22398 blah blah blah. Because we're looking for it for 3 decimal places, we're just going to work that out to 3 decimal places. So it will be 2.224. Then all we need to do now is press equals again, because instead of using the 1, it will use the 2.223980091, etc. as the answer. So I'm going to press equals again, and lo and behold, I get 2.304. Press equals again, 2.309, equals again, 2.309. Now when you get the same answer twice, you can stop. That is our answer. So our solution is 2.309 to 3 decimal places. So to find the shaded part of this diagram, we need to first of all work out the volume of the smaller cone, which is at the top, then work out the volume of the larger cone, which is the whole cone shown, and then take them away from each other. So the radius for the smaller cone is 4, and the height is 5. And the radius for the larger cone is 20, and the height is the 20 plus the 5, so it would be 25. So I'm just going to label them A and B. And so why don't we work out the volume for B first? And the formula for the volume of a cone is 1/3 pi r squared h, with h being the perpendicular height. So it's 1/3 times pi times 20 squared times 25, which is going to be 10,471.975 blah blah blah. We're going to work out the volume for A, and this time it will be 1/3 times pi times the radius now is 4, and the height is 5. So that will be 83.775 blah blah blah. So to work out the shaded bit, we're just going to do the volume for B, take away the volume for A. So it's going to be 10,471.975, take away 83.775. And all those I'm going to keep in the calculator to keep the accuracy. And that gives us 10,388.199, blah blah blah. And to 2 decimal places, it's going to be 10,388.199. 388.20. To be able to find the inverse function of f of x, to find inverse, which is what this minus 1 here means, we're going to start off by just replacing the f of x with a y. And to find the inverse, all we do is we swap over the x and the y. So I'm going to do it on the right hand side, so we've got a bit of space. So x equals 2y minus 12. And then the task is to get it so that it's y equals. So we're going to first of all add 12 both sides. So it's x plus 12. And then we're going to get rid of that times 2 there by dividing 2 both sides. And so the inverse function of x is x plus 12 over 2. A normal sine graph would go up to 1 at 90, then 0 at 180, then down to minus 1 at 270, then back up to 0 at 360, and it will start at 0, 0. But when you've got a 2 inside the function, so we've got 2x, you'd think it would double the x-coordinates. It doesn't. It just halves the x-coordinates. It always does the opposite, the reciprocal of what you think. So a 2 would halve it, a 3 would divide it by 3, and similarly a half would double it. So looking at this first x-coordinate, we've got it at 91. Well, that will now be at 45, 1. This next one here is at 180. It crosses the x-axis. It will now cross the x-axis at 90. Get to minus 1 at 270, halve that, and we're just halving each of the points. And so you get instead of 1 period, which is between 0 and 360, you actually now get 2. So it goes, and make sure you've got nice U shapes here. Goes up to 1, U shape at the bottom. That's 1 period. Now that normally is between 0 and 360, but here we've got enough space now to actually have a second period. So the first thing we need to realize is that we can create a right angle triangle from within this cone. So if I draw a line from the top going downwards, a line to the right and a line up, and we can label the sides. So we've got 30 here, and we've got 10 at the bottom here, and we're looking for this angle here, which we're going to call y. And if I just highlight all of this and move it across, then we're obviously going to be using trigonometry to find out what y is. So first step with trigonometry is, well, find out where the right angle is, which is there. And the one opposite the right angle is the hypotenuse. The one opposite the marked angle is the opposite. And the one between the right angle and the marked angle is the adjacent. In this question, we're not using the hypotenuse because there's no letter or number next to it. And so I'm going to do my SOHCAHTOA, SOHCAHTOA. And we're not using the H, so we'll cross out these two. We're using the TOA, and that stands for tan the angle, which in this case is y, equals the opposite, which is 10, over the adjacent, which is 30. And so tan, so we're going to inverse tan both sides. So we're going to have to solve this. So let's get my lines in. And we're going to inverse tan both sides. So that will just leave y on the left hand side, and then we need to find out what the inverse tan of a third is. And the inverse tan of a third is 18.434 blah blah blah. Now what I did at the start was I moved the diagram away from the cone. Let's just move it back and we'll see the fact that y is exactly half of x, because we've done a line straight down the middle. So to find out what x is, all we need to do is double y. So x is going to be 2 times y, so that's going to be 2 times the 18.434 blah 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 blah, and so that is going to be 36.869 etc. And it says it wants it to correct 2 decimal places, so that's going to be 36.87 degrees. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our OnMaths site. OnMaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions and mini-mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing.